Hello and good morning. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Jesse the Bison, your host today for the Morning Leak, an event designed to give you a creative boost of inspiration from fellow design creatives to see real-world projects. Today we are excited to feature today two guest speakers. Eduardo Sarmiento from Brunette Garcia and Katia Cajas, art director at 2020 Creative. AIGA Jacksonville is a nonprofit organization working to unite and inspire the creative community. So if you have any questions or comments, please drop them in the chat. Let us know everything is sounding good. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and transition over and introduce our first speaker. Eduardo Sarmiento is the Executive Vice President of Creative at Brunette Garcia, originally from Cuba. Today he'll be giving a talk on poster design and the influence and impact of Cuban posters in his vocabulary and creative strategy. I want to give a big welcome to Eduardo Sarmiento.
Thank you, Jesse. Do you hear me well?
Yep, loud and clear.
Awesome. Yeah, well, thank you, Jesse, and thank you, AIGA, for the invitation. I'm very glad to be here and happy to somehow contribute a bit to the creative community here in JAX. So, yeah, I am Cuban-born, American by choice. I have been in the US for 15 years. I studied graphic design and illustration in Cuba in the Superior Institute of Design. And I've been doing this for more than 15 years now. I wanted to talk about Cuban posters and poster design because of the influence and impact that the Cuban posters have had in my creative strategy. And also, I'm going to show some posters, some of the work that we have done at Brunette Garcia with my brilliant team. I want to start by defining a poster, not the way that typically we think about a poster, but the way that Josep Renault thought about it. He was a Spanish artist that did a lot of political work during the Civil War in Spain. And he said that a poster is a gel on the wall. And in Cuban designers know this phrase very well because of the impact, how simple and bold it is, a gel on the wall. It's very clearly stating that a poster needs to demand attention. And then a Cuban maestro, Alfredo Rosgard, came and said something more Latino, and it's like, a poster is a punch in the eye. It should be a punch in the eye. It should demand attention. It should call the viewer. It should tell you, hey, look at me, I'm here, consume my information. And that is very fascinating to me, the fact that you're going to be walking by a place and you're going to look at something for a millisecond and you're going to either pay a little bit more attention or not to it. You only have that. And poster design, posters have been like that forever. And now with social media, the visual IQ being on the rise, people being oversaturated with content, having a very clear and defined visual strategy is a must more than ever. I grew up in Cuba, and also as a designer, I consume a lot of Cuban poster design. The Cuban poster design after the revolution took over was very influenced by Poland and Russia and the rawness of those communications. Also at that time, it was very difficult to print posters, and printing, it was expensive, taking photos, all of that. I'm talking about 1959, the 60s, the beginning of the 70s. So Cuban designers had to be inventive. They had to create a visual language that was based on flat colors, and sometimes they could only use two colors, and sometimes they couldn't even pick the colors. It was like they printed these posters in silk screen, and the printing guy said, hey, we have black and red, that's all we can use, or we have yellow and blue. They sometimes couldn't even pick the colors. So they had to create images that were going to grab attention, that were going to impact people in a way that they could look at the communications that they were doing. And there were two main industries in Cuba creating posters: the political, obviously, political propaganda, and the cultural, and mostly movies. Movie posters were big in the Cuban visual landscape. So if we see here, there is a lot of boldness, simplicity, metaphoric elements, and that has stayed, and I think is going to stay forever in my visual vocabulary, and how I have incorporated these visual elements, but I have evolved them also to create something else. Because at some point I was a little bit, after I came to the US and after, I've been lucky enough that I traveled through Latin America, I wanted to evolve this. I didn't want the Cuban poster legacy to only be about, two colors or vectorial illustrations. I wanted to incorporate photography. I wanted to incorporate other, visual approaches to it. This is a poster that I designed still when I was living in Cuba, and it has become a metaphor of exile. I printed it in silk screen for the first time here in San Luis with my friend Carlos Zamora, and it's clear what it's stating, right? It's the separation of Cuban families. Is that we had to cut the star, which means purity of ideals, to get to know the world. But again, I wanted to do work that wasn't only related to that. And these are three main attributes of my creative strategy. Obviously, there are more, but these three are very interesting to me. We have the political propaganda that it was very present in Cuba, all my life in Cuba, and that's embedded in my mind. There's the magical realism of Latin America, the way in which we face literature and visual arts and poetry. It's basically realism, but they add magical elements to it. And I think that's fascinating. It is not fantasy. Everything is not made up. It is like grounded in realism, but it has touches, a little bit of flavor of magic elements. And also, after living 15 years in the US, the commercial advertising has had a big impact on my visual language. So what I got from the political propaganda was the strength, the rawness of it, magical realism, metaphors, but not only metaphors, but figures of speech, like hyperboles and all of them. And commercial advertising is the seduction, the fascination of the image. So I try to use that combination depending on the project, depending on the client, depending on the target, more or less. And I lead and inspire my team to use elements of this, even though they don't know that I'm, doing this necessarily, but that's the way we work. And now I want to show you like 4 or 5 samples of the work that I have done with, again, my extraordinary team at Brunet Garcia Advertising. This is a campaign that we did for Ebony Payne English. It was a series of autobiographical plays, 5 of them. And we wanted to create something extraordinary and related to her name and her stories. So we started doing a sculpture in wood and then adding elements that were going to transform and add meaning to what we were seeing. And we did 5 of them. We also wanted to emphasize the yin and yang situation in which, maybe something that it's heavy or not necessarily positive happened to you, and how you take it and you transform it and you put it in function of the community. That's exactly what Ebony does with her work. That is very inspiring, and we love it. And it inspired us to do this that we did with Colin and Bianca. Colin did all the woodwork and Bianca did the design, and together we came up with the metaphors and the illustrations. This was play number 5, play number 4. Again, playing with visual elements that are going to stimulate the viewer while remaining true to the series. And the last one was based on her daughter, because she was in that play, she was going to be talking a lot about giving birth and creation and all of that. So we ended up with the profile of her daughter, not her, because of that reason. And it was exquisite collaboration with Jensen Handy, the photographer. He took all the photos, and it was a feast to work with him on this and in several other projects that we've done.
That's amazing.
Thank you, Jesse.
Really nice.
The next project is a campaign, an awareness campaign that we did for the World Affairs Council of Jacksonville. In this case, we're not using 3D elements, but it was also interesting that we did this campaign like a year or 2 years ago. I don't remember quite exactly, but it was at a time when, you know, our country needed unity and conversation and, you know, more involvement than separation. So the campaign was very well received because of that. And again, an awareness campaign about what the World Affairs Council does. And we created this, we use these iconic portraits of very famous people that are not necessarily related or not related at all. And how, when we come together, we create something better. And these are portraits of them and also quotes of them that we assemble together to create something bigger or maybe more impactful than the original quote. We did a series of them with different people, again, not related, but the result is refreshing and inspiring. For the second year, not the second year, the next year with the World Affairs Council, we did the Global Issues Evening. This wasn't an awareness campaign. It was a campaign to drive attention to their speaker series. They bring world-renowned people to JAX to talk about very heavy, difficult, novel topics. And we created a campaign for them. And these are the posters that we did. This one is there's a big relation, there's a close relationship with, you know, the Cuban posters. You see the immediacy of the image, the rawness, the power of it. We also see that we are recontextualizing meaning, because that's what happens when typically we don't create anything new, right? Like, you know, we take a dog and we put the dog to sing, and the dog is singing and it's funny and people laugh, but we didn't create the dog. We didn't create the art form that is singing. We're just connecting dots. And that's what we're doing here. We are recontextualizing the meaning of an image that was intended to be like, it's all good, appreciate you, love it, it's awesome. And by adding a single element, we are reverting the meaning. And when people get that, when there's a click in your mind, when you get it, you feel smart, you know what's going on, and then it's powerful. And the simpler, the better. When possible, the simpler, the better. And this was a series that we intended to use different visual languages, not only these vectorial images. So we also played a lot with photography, always with a metaphoric and conceptual approach, but using photography as a key component of the campaign. We, you know, Colin designed these pieces. We had to buy all of those assets and gadgets. And then we took photos in our studio, in our agency here in JAX, and we put the whole thing together in order to convey what we wanted to convey. This is another project that we did, I think a year ago, 2 years ago, maybe. It was the Hispanic Film Festival. We had to design the identity and create a series of posters for them. It was Hispanic. It was about Hispanic films, Latino films. So we wanted to do something that was whimsical and a little bit magical, representing the culture and the inventiveness and the freshness of the culture. And we also wanted to create a bridge between the Latino and Hispanic culture and the American culture. So our identity was exactly that, a bridge on the left between the Hispanic and the Latino and the American culture. And then, because this was the first time this festival was going to come up with to JAX, we wanted to use the logo as the main element of the piece. But obviously we didn't want to use like, you know, vectorial huge logo there, even though maybe we can find a solution with that. But we wanted to do something that was more refreshing, that was distinctive, that was true to the Latino culture, but at the same time emphasize the logo So what we did is that Bianca designed these posters, and also Jensen took all the photos for this. We created these metaphors, whimsical, refreshing, trying to stimulate people to pay attention to cinema in a different way. And we cut all the letters, and there's only a couple of typographic families there. The rest is created. These were the other two posters. Also, series are very important. And you guys have seen a lot of series, because nowadays it's very difficult. There are exceptions, but it's very difficult to create a campaign based on one image. Before, one logo, one image, one video, that was it. You were done. With that, you could live for 3, 4, 5 months, and that was awesome and effective. Nowadays, that's not effective because people get tired in a second. They just don't want to see your poster again, no matter how awesome it is or how interested they are in what you're communicating. So we love series, and I love series. I stimulate and push my team to do series and create systems, create visual systems, graphic systems that are going to serve the client and are going to serve the audience, and we're going to keep the communications relevant throughout the time that we need to be talking about this specific topic. Some backstage shots and how, again, the type was really created. It was digital. And there's something about that. There's nothing wrong about digital. We love it and we use it a lot. But there is an honesty that comes when you do this. And there is a visual stimulation that it's difficult to explain, really. It's difficult to explain. I could tell you, hey, I'm going to put a pineapple and I'm going to just put Cultural Film Festival. And you might say, well, I don't know. I'm not sure about that. I've seen that other times. But somehow when you do it, the veracity of the image, the seduction of the image impacts our eyes and our brain in a way that stimulates to pay attention. Phase 8 theater, we did a couple of series for them. This was one of the first projects that I did when I started working with Brunet Garcia 3.5 years ago. And they had, the previous campaign was based on collage. So what I wanted to do with this was to honor the work that Bianca had done, that Bianca and Chad and the team had done with the first series, but I wanted to push to be a little bit more metaphorical and to be to add these figures of speech into the conversation. The first one was, again, Ebony. It was a different play, but she was the main performer here. And we are combining vectorial, graphic elements, illustrations with strong photography. These are two different plays, again, playing with the immediacy of the image, trying to demand attention. The last two posters of this series that we did, combining different visual elements, but based on photography mainly. This is a series of, originally they were postcards, and we also created posters for the client. It is for Florida Department of Health, Florida Shots. And they keep the registry, and before it was more based on paper, and this time they were going to transition to digital mainly. So we created this simple, Melissa created this simple origamis. And in this case, we see a different approach to 3D element. And in this case, it's the delicacy of it, how the absence of elements create we focus the eye on the element, and right away we read exactly what we need to read. And because it's Florida, we created a series of animals that are, common in Florida.
Nice.
The delicacy is very important here. When you see this origami, I think they're beautiful, but when you see them like that, they're interesting, they are okay, but somehow when you put them in context with typography and there is a bigger message behind them, we're magnifying something. It becomes an hyperbole. It becomes something bigger than what they are. And that's what, sometimes design and advertising do. We magnify things. We magnify topics. We magnify conversations. We have that power if we do our work right. This is the last campaign that I'm going to show you. It's I'm ready for the program Ready Set Prep. Prep is a pill that you take, and you can be, for the people that don't know, you can take this pill and you can have sexual relationships with people who are HIV positive without contracting HIV. It's an amazing. It's something that it's amazing that it's happening today, and we're creating a campaign based on the actual factual storytelling. It's the actual stories of people who are taking PrEP and taking responsibility for their lives and their lives of their partners. So in this case, we partner with another photographers in Atlanta, Dante and Ahmad, and we are capitalizing on quotes of these people, and we are putting it out there in order to create awareness about the program. The program provides free PrEP for people who qualify. So again, and most of the work that we do at Brunet Garcia, it's for the government, and most of the time we need to communicate heavy topics, right? There's a big difference between talking, and I'm not saying that it's easier necessarily, but I'm saying that you have one freedom when you're communicating on behalf of Apple or Pizza Hut or Nike, but it's very different when you're talking to government clients, because we have two ends here. Like, we have government clients who, everything they put out there is going to be, people are going to look at that with extreme precaution and extreme detail. But you have the people that you're talking to. Like, we're talking to 24-year-olds Latinos, 24-year-olds Americans who consume Netflix, who wear Nikes, who go to Pizza Hut, and the way in which they consume information is one thing, and one thing is what sometimes the government wants. So we educate our clients in order to create communications that are powerful and effective. And we're going to do a series with a lot of more quotes and people in order to keep the communication alive. And this is the last project that I'm sharing, and it's a personal project that I've been working on for several years. This is a BATILE series, but it's all based on love and affection and appreciation and mutual respect. It's with my friend Nelson Ponce in Cuba, and we started doing these posters together. I think like 10 years ago. It was for a cultural event in Cuba. So we're doing this. Both of us are working on this. He designs part of the poster. Like, for example, he's the one on the left, I'm the one on the right. He designed his character and some portions of the posters. He sends that to me, and then I do my part, and then I change some of his, and I can change his character as well, and I can change the type. And it's a collaboration. Again, it's a celebration of graphic design and creativity and our friendship for over the years. This was the first one that we did in 2009, and they are printed in silk screen in Havana. We typically do 100 of them. So he gets 50, I get 50, and then we do whatever we want with them. We show them in places, in museums, and we sell them. And it has been a great journey. So these are another two, like hand wrestling and chess. It's always a battle where we're trying to kill each other. Mm-hmm. And the one that starts always, I think, is in a disadvantage, because the other can do whatever the hell he wants to do with the other person. But again, because this is a celebration, it's just fun. And these are the last two that we did. The last one was UFC. We did that one last year, and we're actually working on a new one this year. Before the year ends, we're going to have a new one that we're working nice. On. And again, the idea, and in this case, we see the influence of Cuban posters and the illustrations and the roughness of it, but there's more visual narrative. There are more elements. We didn't want to necessarily be like simple. We wanted to add more elements and more layers to the communication, basically to have fun and exercise our illustrative skills. And after working on design and creating posters for more than 15 years, it's difficult to state like, oh, you should do this, you should do that. The only thing I know is that creativity is uncertain. It's an uncertain exploration. Otherwise, you're going to arrive at the same place that you have known. If you always work with photography and you keep working with photography, I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that that's not right for me. And I think it's limiting. And I think it's limiting your clients. I think that we should embrace the unknown and we should explore. And exploration comes with failure. And that is very difficult to go through. Sometimes I ask, my team, hey, let's explore this, let's do that. Sometimes they think it's not going to work, and then they say, it works, you were right. Sometimes they say, I did it, it doesn't work at all. And that is fine, because now we have the certainty that that is not going to work. And we need to go and we need to take a different path. And that's basically what we need to do as creative designers. We need to explore. We need to unleash our visual vocabulary. We need to nurture from different cultures, from different places, from different art forms, from different life experiences, and try to bring our voice and put our voice into the work. So, gracias. And, if you have some questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you so much, Eduardo. We do have a question in the chat. Let me pull it up here. So for the posters where the quotes and portraits of well-known people were combined, how did you arrive to this solution in the brainstorming session? Where was the start?
Well, we always explore several ideas. We never explore only one idea, but we started talking about coming together, and that was critical. That was foundational on what we did. We wanted to come together, and I was very clear about coming together. So I asked the team to think about other things, but also to explore coming together and visual ways in which we can communicate that. So we explore different things, and when we got to this point, I was extremely clear that that was the solution that we wanted to push forward and that we recommended to the client, and that the client approved immediately in the meeting. While we were sitting there, we shared a couple of options, and the client said, option one, that's what we want. So I don't know if I answered exactly, but it started with coming together. And then with that idea, we explore visual options in which we could communicate the coming together in ways that are not, the typical embrace or handshake or that type of thing that it's so used that it says nothing anymore.
Thank you. There was one extra question too about social distancing. How has that working from home affected your approach to collaboration with your team, and how do you keep fostering that collective creativity when you can't be locally together?
Yeah, that has been a challenge for every creative individual on earth, I think, this year. We embrace working from home like immediately. At Brunet Garcia, we work with the government a lot, and we also are very, well informed, and we want our team to be healthy and safe and take care of their families. So we started working from home. We have several meetings every week. We talk a lot. Sometimes we do social distance creative lunch and stuff like that, and we over communicate. That was one of the things that I was very clear, because I used to work in a different agency some years ago where I had offices and I had creative teams in different countries, and when you work like this in a silo, you miss the culture, you miss the chemistry, you miss the creative collaboration, that you have something on your screen and then someone comes and said, hey, how about this? And it's like, wow, that's awesome. We don't have that now. So we need to over communicate. Yeah. We need to really share what we're doing with our, team members and say, hey, I'm doing this. What do you think about this? That doesn't come like, I don't know what I'm doing or I need your help. It is more like, what do you see here? Mm-hmm. How can I improve this? Do you see something that I'm not seeing here? And it comes from that perspective. And at Brunet Garcia, and I personally strongly believe in collaboration. That's why I love advertising. I'm also an artist and an illustrator, but what I love about advertising is that I can collaborate with extremely, extraordinarily talented people and do things that I wouldn't be able to do by myself. So we have been over communicating. We have been sharing a lot. We have been trying to do, again, social launches, social distance launches when we have had the opportunity. We have been very careful. Still challenging. I miss my people. I miss, being with them, printing stuff, putting it on the floor, talking about it, asking someone that is not part of this project, hey, come here a second, what do you think about this? But we're doing it digitally. We're trying to do it digitally. We're exploring other options. And the reality is that it's been a challenging year, but we've been very busy. We've been lucky enough that we're healthy and grateful for it all the time.
Excellent. Eduardo, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. We absolutely looking forward to seeing more of your work and seeing more from Burnett Garcia. Where can we find your work online?
Well, there's our website there, brunetgarcia.com, or you can find us in, Brunet Garcia on Instagram, and also eduardosarmiento.com. It's mostly my artistic work, and in Instagram as well.
Thank you so much. Well, thanks for, thank you again for taking the time. Thanks you to BG for allowing you to join us today. And that's it. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, AIGA, for the work that you're doing. Inspiring people is the best that we can do with our time. So I'm very glad to, somehow contribute a bit to it, and to the Jacksonville creative community. Salud.
All right. That was a great talk from Eduardo. We're going to take just a moment to bring Katya into the call. In the meantime, just hang tight, and we'll be back in just 1 second. All right. Thanks for your patience. We are back, and to follow up, we have Katya Cajas, originally from Guatemala, now a Floridian and art director at 2020 Creative, and also membership director at AIGA Jacksonville, as well as a returning speaker with Morning Leak. Welcome, Katya. Go ahead and if you want to go ahead and kick us off and tell us about your work, and the floor is yours.
Yes, hi everybody. Hola a todos. Like Jesse said, my name is Katya Cajas. I work at 2020 Creative as an art director, and I just took a membership director role with AIGA, and I'm enjoying it so far. So I'll be talking to you about membership later. That's coming. I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about branding and how important it is, but how difficult it is to just brand ourselves, let alone brand the company or agency you're working for. We've had some fun moments at 2020 branding the company in the past year, and it has taken a team of people to get it done. So I'm gonna walk you through the steps, but first I'm gonna introduce a few things about myself. Like Jesse said, we don't need this slide anymore. But like Jesse said, I'm from Guatemala. I love coffee, and I have two dogs named Skrillex and Iggy. I don't enjoy the kind of music Skrillex and Iggy play. I just like the names for the dogs. I think it's funny. Okay, let's talk about branding. It's hard to brand ourselves. A while ago, when I graduated from college, this was my first logo, and I loved it. I love butterflies. I played it off of a Rorschach type of concept, and I was proud of it. I went to Guatemala to visit my family, and they pointed out that it was pretty, but it looked like I was giving them the fingers, and I didn't understand what they were saying until I flipped my mark, and it looked like this. Sorry, I know it's pixelated. I deleted all versions of it, so this is the best I can do. So the first thing I did when I went back home was rebrand it a little bit and decided to go with this, which is a combination of the logo I had. I pretty much grabbed the two ends and made it into a better looking butterfly that is not gonna insult anybody. So the same experience I had there, I think a lot of people can understand what it will be to kind of had to rebrand themselves so shortly after maybe not considering all the possibilities. And with that, I'll talk about my experience redirecting the brand development of the 2020 creative brand. Last year, when I joined the team, the brand was already on their way. And there were a lot of really good things about it. I think everybody really liked the colors, and the concept of the shapes is something we really wanted to go off of. So we launched it. We launched the brand, I don't remember, maybe February last year. And as we started to play along with it, we started to notice some things that were not quite working for us. While we love the colors, it seemed like it was a lot of colors in one logo. And then this section right here just felt like it was really complicated to look at for the words. And also the number on the left just felt isolated, like it didn't belong with the name. So we started to ask ourselves, okay, how long can we live with this logo, and what can we do to kind of make sure everybody understands that our name is 2020 Creative? This is a company that has been around for about 4 years. So we're pretty fresh in we're the new kid on the block. So we're trying to, establish ourselves, but also put our best foot forward. And while we were trying to do that, I think we also decided to take a step back and try to absorb everything and just redirect a few things to rebrand, to kind of brand ourselves a little bit better and make a logo that was gonna work for many applications. So we decided to explore one of our other printed materials that we had that was also a problem, was the business card. And we kind of forgot to make sure we included the name of our of the company in here. It's only in the website name down here. So we started to consider, okay, are people gonna think our name is 20? Is this gonna cause confusion? We really like just the word 20, but we already spent a lot of time making the brand be 2020 Creative. So we went for it earlier this year to explore a rebrand. And our solution was, okay, let's focus on what we like about this and what we don't like about it, what we need to fix. We focus on flexibility. We have a busy brand, but let's make sure we can make it flexible as possible. We like the colors, but And we also like the mark. What can we do to keep those? Were some of the questions we asked ourselves as we went through the process. So one of the things we explored was bringing the logo mark in this area of the logo and adding the 20 to the word 20 to make a logo type that was readable and understandable for everybody, and keep the mark that was more abstract but kind of fun, and it still kind of implies it, hey, it's the word 20, and we can have a lot of fun with developing other materials for the brand utilizing this mark. So we moved forward in that direction. It was not easy. We went through a lot of back and forths. And I guess one thing I've experienced, well, branding an individual versus helping brand a company or an agency, is that an individual is going to go in one direction towards themselves, but then as an agency, it's a group effort. Everybody wants to take part in developing the brand, and I think at some point everybody's opinions need to be considered, but also it can hinder the process a little bit. However, I think we all kind of work well together as a team to develop something that we all feel comfortable with. And then this is what we ended up with. We decided to go with this as the primary mark, or primary logo, I'm sorry. We created a version of the logo that was a stack version with the name in there, and we made it as flexible as possible. We can use the mark alone. We can use the 2020 creative, just the logo type, depending on what the use for it is. So I think while it might not be as different, I think we have a lot more flexibility with what we ended up with, which is in reality what we needed, and I think that's what the solution was. So here it is, just for comparison, how the 2020 name reads better in this one, and then on the left it's like we're having a hard time understanding if the name is 20 or is it 20 creative, etc. After we developed the logo, we move on to some other fun explorations like social media. I think one of the big talks was, okay, how can we brand ourselves in social media and move forward with this new direction? We have been having fun with this. We've been doing a lot of stories, animations. We decided to brand our feed and what it looks like in this direction, where we're like setting up this layout and then having a video in the middle and then having photos on the left and the right, so that everything feels cohesive. And that takes some time, but it's doable. We're having fun with it, but it definitely takes some planning, and is the direction we want to take. So we're trying to brand everything as little as any, doesn't matter how little it is, we're trying to make sure our voice is there. And then earlier this year, as we were progressing with the brand, I was like, hey, let's try to have some fun with this and participate in creative type. And this is a couple of us took turns. Thank you. A couple of us took turns in developing different letter sets throughout the 36 days of type. And we had a lot of fun with it. And I think one of the rules was to keep the brand colors, so that maybe we could potentially use it for later, or just use it to decorate the office. And we were just looking for a way to have fun and be creative and just explore what we can do. These are just some ad explorations we have. I'm not really sure if we already used them, but with the new brand redirection, there were some new concepts, and then we were able to adapt all concepts with the new brands since it hadn't really changed that much. That was really helpful. That was also one of the things we considered as we were taking a new direction with it. What have we done with the brand currently that we can keep that is not gonna cost us a lot of money to redo? So I think in general, one of my goals when I was doing this was, okay, our brand is busy. I want to clean it up a bit and make sure there's room for it to breathe. And I think that's what this is representative of. Just making sure there's enough white space, keep it clean and simple, and I've had a lot of fun with that. We move on to the website development phase, and we're going to be launching it soon, the new website. The one we currently have needs some updating. But this is what we're exploring for the new website, and we're really excited about. There's going to be some animations in there. We're trying to play around with like asymmetry and balancing out some elements in here, and exploring some logos that we created from the shapes that are currently in the logo mark. And this is just another section of what the feature work page could look like. I mean, feature work, just trying to keep it balanced with overlays and keep it simple. Here you can see the element, one of the elements we created for 36 days of type with, which I think is one of the reasons why we work on that project in social media, which I'm happy that we're able to use in some of the brand assets.
Very nice.
Here are the logos. We have on top of the brand logo, we have created a set of logos. There's more than the 4 icons, a set of icons. There's way more than the 4 we have here. That you will get to see later when we launch the site. But we're really excited about this. We're keeping it clean and simple and just kind of trying to take a new direction with it in general and kind of make it feel a little bit fun, because I think everybody that I work with at the office is very fun to work with. I love my team, and I think the shapes and the way we're presenting it here is representative of that. One of the things we had at the beginning, if you saw, was this group of shapes that we were thinking, should we get rid of them? Should we keep them? So during the web design development, I made sure to bring those back and introduce them in this way where it's minimal and still kind of attractive to look at. These are just some of the pages of the website. It's is making its headway to be launched soon. So just keep an eye out for us. Follow us on social media so that you can get the announcement, so you can go take a look at our new website. But we're really excited about it.
And that's at 2020 Creative all over the web.
2020creative.com. Yes. And then, social media to 2020 Creative. And then I'm going to switch my screen real quick to present to you my team. If you give me a second. I just want to show you how fun my team is. After we did our set of photos for a new website, we decided after all the time we spend branding ourselves.
Come up to me and should be standing next to me.
After that's another video, you guys need to check it out. It's in our Facebook. The video team put it together for Kobe 824 day, so you should definitely take a look at it. It's a really good video, and it's just in remembrance of Kobe.
Awesome. It's nice to see your employees and coworkers out and showing the personality, and that the company's in full force and full swing. Haven't slowed down one bit.
Yeah, I know. It's been really fun, and like I said, I work with a really good team that's very talented and just really fun to work with. After developing all these things, the whole brand, we went Fuller House on the brand. So I thought that was pretty funny. But I'll leave you with these. Oh, it's okay. Never mind. I closed the video. It's okay. If you're following us, if you're following our Flying Iguana has this video on their Instagram. You should check it out. It's really funny, and it's one of my favorites so far. One of the things I get to do with the company is create these fun illustrations for some of our clients and then see them animated, and I'm having a lot of fun with that. Our animator Cameron is kind of fun to work with, and he's been doing all these animations, and it's great. That's pretty much it for my presentation. If anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Yeah, what's it like for you with your team, since I believe you're all still remote, right?
Some of us work remote every now and then, but the team is not that big. So we have enough space to spread out at the office, and I think a lot of us kind of just prefer to go sit at the office and not be distracted.
They're definitely maintaining distance, but as far as the collaboration and work, do you find your productivity about the same? Do you find yourselves maybe more engaged with each other now that you have to maybe spread out a little more? How is the current workflow at 2020?
Yeah. Well, we're all in different offices, and sometimes we do have the space to spread out. Like in the community area, we have a lot of couches and things like that. We are wearing masks to go into the office and the building, and if we're talking to somebody else, we put the mask on. If we're not sitting at our desk, but we have our boss has provided masks too. We forget ours. There's always a set of like a bucket with masks by the kitchen. We're just trying to do what we can. It's kind of hard to just do a hard stop because a lot of us, especially the video team, they have to travel for meetings and record and take photos. So it's really hard to just stop. And in my case, as a designer, it's just I share the space with 3 of us. So it's really, we don't have a lot of, we're not really close together. And if we feel like we're not safe, we can say, okay, let me just take the day off. I'll work from home today. We're very flexible right now.
Nice. Can we talk a little bit about membership now that you're on as the director? Maybe some of the goals that you have and for the chapter and growing our membership base?
Yes, definitely. All right. One of my goals as the membership director is to, I'm gonna call it shine a light on you. If you're a member, I just want to make sure we are getting to know you and making sure that you know what our benefits are. And one of those benefits is gonna be displaying your what you have been working on. So we have reached out to all of our members, all of our current members. We have reached out and sent out emails. So make sure you answer those emails and send us what we have requested of you so that we can get this campaign going. And
yeah, we'd love to share word
we
from
want to
our
surprise
community.
you.
Yeah.
Yes. So make sure you just follow up with that. And then if you're not a member yet, I will encourage you to join. We cannot put these events together if it's not with your support, and that support comes through membership. So there's a lot of events coming up that we're adapting to with COVID and trying to keep safe and trying to reformat those events that we all like a lot. Part of that comes with your support, and you can volunteer or you can become a member. The the basic membership is $50 a year, so it's really not too bad. But with your support, we put together events like this, and I think they provide the community with an outlet to not just be creative, but also continue to learn and educate themselves. I think Eduardo had like a really great presentation with all the posters and combining the culture of how that has impacted the design work. I think that's something everybody needs to be exposed to, and we can only do it through events like this.
Yeah, I agree, and really, it's not about the member numbers or the money. It's really about the participation and the creating that community here, the creative community in Jacksonville and all over. So if you're not in Jacksonville or there, check out your nearest AIGA organization and get connected with your local design community, because we want to continue to put on great events to support that community. And if you can't be a member, that's fine. We encourage more participation. So just keep attending, keep showing up. Like we have over 40 attendees in the live stream, so that I think that's amazing. And the more we grow it, I think the more we can succeed in inspiring and uniting the community.
Yep, I agree. It's great. We don't forget about I don't know if we're gonna talk about Design Plus Music is coming out. Don't forget to submit your posters.
Yep, we got a couple announcements right after, and we'll definitely touch on it for sure.
Sounds good. Yep, that's all I have.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Katya, thank you so much for joining us. Where can we find you online? Or Instagram?
Okay. Well, yeah, you can go on Instagram, my social media. Feel free to follow me. I am working on my website because I need to put my recent stuff in there. You're not gonna find me on a website right now, but feel free to follow me on Instagram, and I'll make sure to let you know when my website's up. I really have some good projects that I'm excited to put up there.
Yeah, I think that's a big one too. Getting your work online. I think during the COVID, I think is a good opportunity to start consolidating your work, updating your portfolios, and so yeah, I think you're right on target.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Thank you so much, Katya, for joining us today, and thank you, 2020 Creative. We're gonna go into some announcements. You want to stay on the line and hang out?
Yeah, I'll definitely be here.
Yeah, here I'm gonna go through some slides real quick, and for the folks that stayed on the in the live stream, we've got some cool announcements. Let me see here. All right, and again, thank you to Eduardo and Katya for jumping on the Morning League today, and shout out to our chapter sponsor, PrintJax, for supporting the chapter as well as providing guidance. Brian, we appreciate your support as president, and big thanks to our members as well. If once you sign on board to become a member, there's a fun, your name will appear on the AIJ Jacksonville website under member directory to again continue that shining the light on our membership. And if you got an email from us asking for some work samples, we want to promote your work, definitely send it back in. And special thanks to Cassie Del Gracia, Mason Mashinsky, Tess Guidi, Jen Arvalo, our AIGA Jax board, and the team at AIGA Unidos for helping promote our event. AIGA Unidos is a campaign happening with Hispanic Heritage Talks. You can find them at aigaunidos.com. And again, as mentioned before, connect with your nearest AIGA chapter to get connected with your community. And here, want to touch on some upcoming events that we're excited to talk about. So we have our Two Creatives podcast premiering next week. It's a project that we've been wanting to get off the ground for some time. And we have our special guest, Ryan Paul Thompson from GAM, Game Arts and Music. So we'll be talking about how to leverage your creative passion to explore an entrepreneurial venture. GAM has grown to be a giant entity to unite the gaming community, and we want to cross-pollinate and share some knowledge and connect with the gaming community and vice versa with the creative community. We also have on October 10th, we have a screening of Los Últimos. It's endless letterpress. It's a stream through Zoom, and we will be having Q&A with the directors of the film afterwards, and that's on October 10th at 6 p.m. So make sure to join us for that. And the Design Plus Music poster show starting October 16th, running through Friday, October 23rd. We're taking a little bit of a different format this year. We're partnering with businesses to showcase our poster entries. And so check out our website at jacksonville.aiga.org to get the full details. It is $5 to enter a poster, but if you become a member, it is free. So we appreciate your support, and we want to make this a great show. We also have Alphabet Soup coming up in November. That is a massive gathering of all the creative organizations, marketing, PR. We have the JOM. Just to go through we have AAF, AIGA Jax, AMA, FPRA, IABC, the JOM, and PRSA. So we'll be hosting breakout sessions on how to help each other through the COVID lockdown and to continue our careers forward, and also a guest speaker keynote at the end. So definitely be sure to check that out. We will have some cool breakouts where we will learn from each other. So the designers helping marketing people, marketing folks helping creatives and communications. So it's going to be a really good event. So definitely check that event out. And if you like what we are doing and want to help, if you want to help keep it going, consider becoming a contributor level member over at aiga.org/join. Katya mentioned it's just $50 for the year to sign up. But again, it's not about the numbers or the membership. Really, it is about the participation. If you want to seal the deal, definitely jump on board as a member. If not, please continue to come back and attend our events. We'd love to see you continue to participate within the community. And join the conversation on Slack. We're trying to get that up and running, get more participation. It's kind of like our Discord where we go on there and chat. People post about jobs, people seeking out help. We have a good community there, and that we want to keep thriving. So check us out on Slack at jacksonville.aiga.org/Slack. And if you want to keep the creative vibes going, our colleague Jesse Taylor is currently holding a banner workshop over at Design Week Tallahassee. It's going on right now, so there's still some time to jump in if you're able to make it. So head over to designweektallahassee.com, and they're doing their live stream. And that's it, everybody. Thank you so much for participating. Thank you, everyone in the chat, for your comments and being engaged with us today. We look forward to doing more virtual events. Katya and Eduardo, thank you so much for being our guests. And this was The Morning Leak. I am Jesse the Bison. On behalf of AIGA Jax, thank you for joining us.
Bye. Are we good? Jesse, are we good?